Welcome to another live Wednesday night edition here on the Rock Pile, where I talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, athletes, and more. We talk about their journeys throughout life, the ups and downs, the challenges, the struggles, and it all becomes reality. And this show, I always say, is where dreams become reality. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow me across all social media platforms. I want to make sure that I give a special shout out that next week we'll have a local Jim Catanzaro is going to join me. Jim's the head football coach at Lake Forest College, another former teammate of mine here, right here at Rome Free Academy. So he'll be set to join me next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Tonight, special guest I got coming on. I'm pumped up to talk to him. We were talking a little bit before we go live here now. Eddie the Truck Gordon was a teammate of mine at Fordham University, went on to fight in the MMA, and I'm excited to bring him on and hear about what life has been like for him after Fordham. And he's been through the ups and downs, and I'm fortunate enough tonight he's able to come on and share his story with us. So let me see if I can bring Eddie on now. Let's see if we can get him on there. There's Ed. What's going on, partner?
What's going on, Rocky? How's everything good?
It's not too bad. Before we came on, I got a flash. I was showing you. I got to bring back some of the old days here.
Oh, man. I love it. I love it.
I got to pull it up there for you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're at the gym, and we had to push this thing back. So it means a lot to have you on here, and I can't thank you enough.
Listen, it's my honor, it's my pleasure, to help out a teammate and more importantly, to catch up. We were talking a little bit before the show started, and I said, it sucks that we always, get together with people when something tragic happens. So it's good that we're getting together on a good note.
So Ed, for the viewers out there, I was telling everybody prior throughout the week that former teammates at Fordham. What I want you to talk to the viewers a little bit about. You're a Freeport kid. How'd you arrive at Fordham?
It's wild, man. Well, I remember like yesterday, Dave Clausen and Coach Cohen, walked into the gym, and Coach Clausen was a ringer, man. He had a mean jump shot, and we were just shooting the breeze. He's like, if I beat you in horse, you'll commit to Fordham. You'll go here, and I'm like, I could beat this white guy. There's no way. And he spanked me. Needless to say, I went on the visit, and not only just fell in love with the campus, the guys, the recruits, and I fell in love with his vision. I fell in love with his vision of Fordham. Most people thought I was crazy because some of the other bigger offers I got to go to, I turned down because I wanted to be a part of something special, and I truly felt that with him. I think when I was a recruit, Fordham might have been like 2-7, or the year before that 0-11, and people said, why in the world you going from a dominant high school, winning a championship, to going to a bottom feeder? Mm-hmm. And I really believed in what he said, and when I met the guys, it was nothing short of amazing. We won a Patriot League championship. Had a bunch of All-Americans, just amazing guys, amazing athletes, and it made me who I am. So I was truly, truly one of the best decisions I made.
Truck, you talk about that vision. I was telling you a little bit. I still keep in touch with Coach Clausen and Coach Cohen, and I think one of the tough parts, and you'll remember this, was when I got recruited to go to Fordham. I got recruited by Coach Quattaro, who had actually left, and then in came Ken O'Keefe, and then Ken O'Keefe left, and then Dave Clausen came in. So the 4 years that I was there, I had 3 different head coaches, and I didn't get a chance to play for the guy that recruited me. But I'll never forget, we went 0-11 Coach Clausen's first year, and Coach was one of the youngest head coaches in the country. And, a lot of people, as people would badmouth them. Who quit the team, and a lot of the guys that were recruited by different coaches, they all left because they didn't believe in the vision by Coach Clausen. And, you and myself and a bunch of other guys that were fortunate enough to stick it out through, a lot of tough days. But when you mentioned that vision, what stood out to you the most about Coach Clausen?
His work ethic. He worked like no other. I think coaching is very ungrateful job. You don't get enough credit when you win, and you get all the credit when you lose. And just to see the amount of hours and time he put, into his craft, into the coaches, into the kids, and he truly cared. When I went to Fordham, people. I went there because you're not able to play football forever, and
Right.
you want a good academic background, and it was a great school. And he stressed that. He said, "You're not just gonna be a football player here. You're gonna be a good part of. You're gonna be a good part of the university. You not only play football for Fordham, but you play for the university. When you walk out of Fordham, when you say that you graduated from Fordham University, it's gonna mean something because it's not just about football. And for the head football coach whose job's on the line, for him to stress that, that speaks volumes. And for me, that stood out a lot because you know we can't play sports forever. For all the times undefeated, we have to have a foundation to fall back on, and no young kid wants to hear that. So for a coach to actually say what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, it's impactful.
And I think it's tough too for a lot of coaches now. You see coaches that are around for 2 to 3 years, and then they jump to, another program, and some players never really get a chance to play for the coach that recruited them. But I think one of the things that stood out to me the most with Coach Clausen was the types of players he brought in, like guys like yourself. They were not only good athletes, but you guys were good people, good teammates to have. It was really a family, a culture there that I think was different prior to when Coach Clausen got there. And it was a close knit group.
No, there's no doubt about it. I talked to a lot of my teammates, now. Obviously, the ones from my class, and you said it best. Like it was a family, and we came from all different backgrounds. Different races, colors, creeds,
Yep.
and we got together in a locker room, and we all had one vision, one goal, and we achieved it.
Now you were 3-year starter, I believe, right? Second team All
Correct.
Patriot League, and then you graduate from Fordham. What I want to know is this: how the hell do you go from finance guy to a fighter, man?
Yeah, the craziest story on the planet, right? Like, I don't have to tell you, but playing football, that was the dream. That was the goal. I wanted to be a professional athlete. Fell short, didn't make the NFL. Um, and went to corporate America. Got tired, got burnt out. You know, what I like to do is play sports and compete. So I did just that. I went to Atlantic City. I competed versus the casino. The casino won. And then I shot over to Philadelphia to watch UFC 101. And while I was there, I was just watching these guys fight. It was Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin. And while I'm watching these guys fight ringside, I'm like, man, I could do this. And my mentor, my boss at the time, was sitting ringside with us. And he was like, yay, really? And I know him because of flag football. And I was like, man, if you think I'm a good football player, I'm a better wrestler. That's what I did my whole life. And he was like, if you believe in yourself, and you think you could do this, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a shot. And I thought he was just like blowing smoke up my butt because I was telling everybody I could do this, and they said it's the alcohol, it's the Red Bull and vodka's talking. But it wasn't. It wasn't the drink. So I had a true belief in myself, and he believed in me as well. And he sponsored me. He let me work. He let me train, and I literally left that weekend and went back to work. And I ran into a friend of mine, Chris Weidman, who ended up being the UFC middleweight champion,
Yep.
beating Anderson Silva, who's the guy I went to go watch. So everything kind of came, full circle. And he took me under his wing. And within, I want to say 6 months, I had my first amateur fight. Within the next 2 years of having no mixed martial arts experience, I was picked up and selected by the UFC to go on this TV show, The Ultimate Fighter. And these are thousands of fighters all across the world that
Right.
train for this. And I just went all in, man. I quit my job. My mom cried. She thought I was crazy. She said, "You wasted all your time going to college. You're fighting for a living, like you're making no money." And I just believed in myself. I wanted to compete. Like I didn't get a chance to be a professional football player. I didn't get a chance to compete, and I was just missing it. And I went all in. And not only did I compete, I won the whole entire show. Got a six-figure contract. Literally changed my life. I don't tell people that to brag or boast, but it opened up different doors and different platforms for me to do different things. And it impacted my life where I'm able to do what I love now. So I truly believe I don't have to work another day of my life because I'm always doing things that I truly enjoy, and I have the freedom to try to make an impact on people's lives.
And Eddie, Chris was a former high school friend of yours, and you mentioned the former middleweight champ, and I think all of us that follow the MMA remember him very well. How much of an impact on your life has he had on you outside of MMA?
Huge, huge, because there's so many ups and downs when you talk about fighting, right? Like you talk about sports. There's so many ups and downs, and if you don't have good, solid people around you, then you're not gonna make it. When things get tough, you want to keep pushing on and being consistent. And I'm super grateful because I went to one college. I didn't transfer. I went to one fight team. Never left. And I found a home at Fordham, and I found a home at Cerro Longo. Fight team. And those are the people that I truly look up to because my best interest is always on the top of the list. It wasn't like they were out there trying to make dollars and cents off of you. They truly cared about us and all the fighters, and we're like a family. So he played a major role. Honestly, if it wasn't like for my mentor and for him, who knows? I might have never fought. I might have never got this far because he literally paved the way because he was in the same smaller regional promotions that I was. So I literally just followed in his footsteps, followed in his lead, and the rest is history.
Eddie, how tough is it outside that Ultimate Fighter? If you didn't get a shot to compete in that, and you defeated Diego in that for in the finals to get the contract and so forth, outside of the Ultimate Fighter, for you see a lot of these young fighters now. There's all different, the Bellator. You got a lot of different ways to get into the UFC. How hard and how tough is it to get where you were?
It's tough, man. It's like anything else. It's a professional sport. It's the NFL of mixed martial arts, the UFC. So it's super tough. My story is just kind of crazy and different because it was almost like a bet. I was 27 years old. At that point, most people are at the tail end of their career. I was just starting. I never boxed. I never did jujitsu. All I did was play football and wrestle. And at that point, I was 10 plus years removed from high school wrestling. So I was probably the last time I wrestled was when I was like 14, 15 years old. So it was far fetched dream, but I just believed in myself and I said I could give it a shot. And if I fail, whatever. Like who cares? Like you got to have a different relationship with fear. And you know, fortunate enough for me, it worked out. And not that I recommend anybody quit their day job and do what I did, but I think we got to roll the dice on ourselves a little bit more and chase our passions, chase our dreams. We'll be a lot more happier in life if we did that.
Now, Truck, when you got into that Ultimate Fighter, as you started moving on in the competition, when did you sit back and say, geez, I may win this thing?
It was crazy, man, because most people don't realize because you watch the show on a 13-week period, but we were there, no phones, no TVs, no interaction with our family, no nothing for over 7 weeks. And the whole process is a little bit longer than that. And it's tough, man. You got to fight 3, 4, 5 times just to get to the finals. So you almost kind of look at it, step by step, day by day. You get injured, you have to make weight. There's so many different obstacles. On that show, man, I was just like, I had the mindset is just like, this is it. Like I'm older. I was the oldest guy at that point on the show. I was the least experienced guy on the show. So for me, it was like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like I was a huge underdog in the final. Like I was never supposed to be in the final. I was never supposed to be on the show. I was never supposed to be in the sport. So for me, it was just like, what the heck do I got to lose? I just got to go out there and give it my all. And my biggest regret was I said before when I first picked up the sport, if I don't reach the UFC by 30, that's it, man. I'm just done. I'm not pursuing anymore because I had a family at that point. I got married at 21. I had my first kid at 22. So I had a family that I had to like take care of and support. So I couldn't be like these younger guys and just pursue the dream, not make money. I had to support my family. So for me, that was it. Like I wasn't fighting for money or a contract. I was fighting for milk, bread, and food. So that's the kind of what like motivated, pushed me, and inspired me.
Eddie, you fought in the UFC 181, I think it was. You fought in the UFC and Fox in 2015. And then you were released by the UFC, which we'll get to that. And then you made a return. Talk about some of the fights you had. You fought in some big fights.
Yeah, I was fortunate, man. I was fortunate and unfortunate because I say fortunate and unfortunate because I did all my learning on the biggest stage in the world, like the UFC. So my mixed martial arts career started at 27. I was in the UFC by 30. So most of my amateur fights on a regional circuit. I had, I want to say, 6 fights on the Ultimate Fighter, and then I had another 3 fights in the UFC. So like 9 or 10 total fights in the UFC, and that was the majority of my career. So I was fighting against some of the best guys in the world, the toughest guys in the world. So I was able to learn a ton, but in the same aspect, I was green, I was young, so I had to fight some younger, more experienced fighters. So I look at it as everything happens for a reason. Um, every single fight I had, I was in a fight. Most of them I was winning. Some of them I did win. So I looked at it as a beautiful gift because I got out the sport, you know, scotch free as far as injuries. So for me, it's a learning lesson. Like my brain is fine. I don't have to worry about CTE because that's a big concern. Being a football player, my whole life pretty much, and then fighting, the second half of my life, you worry about that stuff because sports is great. You get on the limelight when you win the championship. You get invited to a lot of different events. You get a whole bunch of different, quote unquote clouts. And some guys fall in love with that cheering. And some guys just don't think that this can happen forever. But there's a life after it. If you look at, sports, it's a short period of your life that you kind of have to, plan ahead of it for when the crowd stops cheering. And, I was able to do that and set up a way that I could support my family and not just fight because I have to.
Now, Truck, my son's 8 years old. This would have been his first year playing tackle football, but unfortunately it was canceled because of COVID. And I follow some videos you post up of your son, man. Your son's going to be a stud. But you talk about the CTC thing, and one of the things I want to ask you, because a lot of people have asked me on my Saturday morning show, and I never thought I would even say this, but I've talked to NFL players, trainers. They say, would you put your son in tackle football at age, 8 or 9 years old now and start teaching them, contact? Is it too young? What's your thoughts on that?
It's tough, man. It's tough because I'm a big believer in, not creating a path for my kids, let them create their own path to kind of give them guidance. And I hesitated a lot when my kids wanted to play at first because I didn't want them to be in that violent sport because it is. When I sit back and look at what we did now and say, yo, it's a controlled car accident, it's scary because when you love somebody, you want to protect them. But in the same aspect, I don't want to cheat them and rob them of their dreams and goals. And I'm a big believer if the game is taught the right way,
Yeah,
if it's taught the right way. A lot of times when you have smaller organizations, youth sports, a lot of times it's just parents who are trying to live vicariously through their kids
right.
and teaching, the kids the wrong things. So if you learn how to tackle properly, you're not going to, get as many head concussions. You're not going to get as many head trauma, to the brain. I think a lot of that injury, that scar tissue is built up from a young age doing crazy drills that we did, because
Mhm.
with the regulations now in college, you don't hit as often as you do. There's no more 3 days. There's no more 2 days back to back to back to back. In the NFL, they have all of these protocols put in place. Is it changing the game that we love? Yes. But in the same aspect, if you talk to any of those NFL players and you say that, would you trade your sport and in your life for somebody else's life? 9 out of 10 times, you're gonna have those guys that say no, and then you're gonna have those guys that retire young, retire early. I have a personal friend of mine. I played football in high school. Brickashaw Ferguson, guy played 10 years with the Jets.
Yeah.
I had another 4 or 5 years left, but to him, it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth. He was worried about the CTE stuff. He said, being a lineman, you're always in contact, head-to-head collisions. He never missed a game, and he said he's going to walk out on his 2 feet with his brain intact, and he walked away from it. So, people have a choice. We have a choice. So I give my kids the choice, and I equip them as much as possible with the knowledge and tools that I learned from great coaches on the highest levels. And if they do it the right way, they're going to be a lot safer. Is there still a chance of risk of injury? Yes, but we could also walk across the street and get hit by a car in the same breath. So everything is dangerous. Life's dangerous.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I was I had varsity coach here this way for a little while, and then I unfortunately with my job and the hours, I just didn't have time to do it. And I helped volunteer coach my son in flag football. And I always say this: I'll never knock a parent for volunteering to try to learn, to coach and be there for the kids. But I agree, if you're going to try to teach kids at a young age to tackle, you got to make sure they're around the right people to know what they're doing.
Yes.
Because again, with everything going on, it just gets crazy. I want to pull some comments. We got some Fordham alum on here. Let's see. We got Michelle. Michelle Kennedy says Ramley.
I love it. I love it.
Michelle. Let's see who else we got. Prince. He
Oh,
says, "What's up? Good to see both of my former teammates. Good job, Prince. That's awesome, man. Good to hear from you."
I love Prince, man. Prince is an amazing, amazing human being, man. I remember going down to Florida, his mom taking me in on Memorial Day, and just treat me like a son, man. Amazing family, amazing person. I got sick in Florida. Had to go to his mom's hospital.
Let's see. Chris Harris, 2 of Fordham U's finest.
Oh man, stud tight end.
Chris was funny, man. When he lived with a bunch of us over in Martyrs, we used to play Madden football and college football, on the Xbox or PlayStation, and we used to have battle. We used to post like on the walls. We'd put like schedules of who was playing who. We used to miss class in the morning because we were too busy playing Xbox and stuff. But good to hear from Chris. Now, Truck, I got a question from Dave Bruce, who is a referee. He's reffed MMA fights. He's a mixed martial arts karate instructor I've had on here. He says you've had some really close fights. Your fight with Chris Dempsey was super close. He says, do you think you won the fight? And what do you think you could have done differently in round 2 to sway things your way?
Oh man, that's a great question, Dave. That fight haunts me to this day because that fight was one fight I 10 out of 10 times I know I won that fight. Like I don't see how in the world the judges will call that fight against me. The stats were in my favor, the fight was in my favor, the dominant time was in my favor. But Dana White says it best: don't leave it in the hands of the judges. If I could go back and look at it, that was probably one of my last fights where I did not have a nutritionist, and I was doing things for so long the wrong way. I would cut 30 to 40 pounds the night before. I would drain my body. I would literally self-sabotage my life, like literally. And at that point, I remember that fight. I hated cutting weight so bad. I said, I don't know if I could do this that much longer. And that fight helped me live a great life because I got a nutritionist after that fight. And I said, I'll never do that again. And I just wouldn't rob myself of my career. And that fight drives me nuts. But I definitely think that fight. I feel like in the second round, I could have kept the pedal on the gas a little bit more. And you learn. You never coast. When you're fighting at the highest level versus some of the best guys, you don't want to give any room for error.
It's amazing too. Now you look at the MMA and to see how much bigger it's gotten over the years. You see a lot of younger fighters coming in, and some of the older guys. The Silvas who fought last week, and I was watching that fight, and I thought he was actually winning the fight until they stopped the fight. But is the MMA in good hands right now?
No doubt about it, man. These kids are phenomenal. Like, you got to figure it like this, right? It's the fastest growing sport in the world. The pay is going from nothing to a lot. You got to think kids are training now, not just in boxing, not just wrestling, not just karate. They're actually training for mixed martial arts now. So the average kids are going to be better than the best person in the beginning. You can see the levels changing now. The founders of the sport, the Gracies, the Matt Hughes. You look at their level; they were phenomenal at the time. And you look at the new level coming in now. These kids are just super athletic. Instead of playing basketball, instead of playing football, these kids are saying, "Hey, I don't have to have a team. I don't have to have this. I don't have to have that. I could put all my eggs in me." And you get these elite athletes instead of shooting a jump shot, dunking the ball. If you have them throwing punches and kicks, it's gonna get crazy. And I think you're going to see better and better and better. Father Time's undefeated, and these kids are the sport's it's gonna explode. The sport's gonna explode if it can't explode anymore because it kind of took off.
Truck, you made a good comment earlier, said, most of the athletes always dream about playing in the NFL or the NBA, and there's a small percentage of athletes that can get there, right? Even when you're in high school, a small percentage could play at that Division I level, even Division III level. There's a lot of good Division III schools out there as well. when you got to the MMA and you finally got that shot, you win the Ultimate Fighter. Was there a point in time where you said, "Geez, I either got to is it start winning fights or is it you saw a timeline saying that gap is narrowing for me in the MMA." Was there a time when you said that to yourself?
Oh, there was no doubt about it because I knew that, I knew that Father Time's against me. Starting so late, I didn't have the luxury of taking smaller fights. I had to take the biggest fights, the best fights to climb up the ladder. I think at one point, two fights that I was winning, both those guys were ranked in the top 10 in the world at that point. So it was like literally they fought me, they won. Two of them I was winning the fight. One guy I lost, and the next fight they're in the top 10 in the world. So I didn't have the luxury of like picking fights. So I got thrown to some wolves, and I don't have no regrets with it. Like I'm a big believer. Everything happens for a reason. I mixed martial arts literally gave me a platform to reach thousands, millions of people that I would not be able to do alone. And I tell people all the time, I'm aware now that my legacy is not going to be about how many fights I win. It's not going to be about how many homes I own, how many cars I have and drive. It's going to be about how many lives I can impact and change. And if I can help some Jamaican immigrant, if I can help some kid that's being bullied, some kid that's being picked on, say, hey, if this kid can do it at a quote unquote old age, why can't I? If they can pursue their dream, their passion, then that's a win for me. I can be a part of their story.
Truck, what do you think you would have been doing if you didn't have the Ultimate Fighter? If you didn't get in the MMA fighting, what do you think you'd be doing today?
I would probably still be in business. I'll be in probably finance still. That was my major. I got a passion for marketing. I love marketing. I got a marketing company now. I have I'm an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. Fighting just helped me get out of the corporate America mindset. um, you know, I was stuck in there. Like if I never fought, if I never had that itch, if I never went to that fight, who knows? I'll probably still working for a publishing company or a bank somewhere. Who knows?
Truck, when you got released by the MMA, I think it was back in 2015. What went through your mind when it came to 2015 and you heard the news? And I don't know where were you when they broke news to you, how that works, but what were the thoughts? What went through the mind?
It was crazy because that was like a wild time with the UFC. When I got released from the UFC, I wasn't supposed to get released. I was supposed to be setting up my next fight because I took a fight on short notice to fight one of their top guys, and I was switching weight classes. So I was a little bit frustrated. I was a little bit upset, and then I said, you know what? I had nobody to blame but myself. Like I took risk. It didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but I was super grateful. Like I still have a great relationship with Dana White. He's somebody that tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And the door was always open for me to come back, win a couple fights, come back. And for me, it was like I did exactly what I wanted. And I was more upset at myself because I set my goals too low. And I think a lot of people do that in life. You often set, not that you don't set goals low, but you set your goals too low and you actually hit them. Like my goal with mixed martial arts, the only goal I had was to make it to the UFC by the time I was 30. I literally won the Ultimate Fighter. I want to say like July. I don't know, like probably like 2 weeks before my birthday. So on my birthday, before my 30th birthday, I was in the UFC. So I was like, holy smokes! I did what I wanted to do. That should never be my goal. My goal should have been to become the UFC middleweight champion of the world. Like that was it. That should have been the only mindset I have. But I literally set the goal, made the goal, hit the goal, and you start to get money, you start to get fame, you start to get some of these different things, and I don't care who you are, if you whether you realize or not, like you get comfortable, you get comfortable, and I lost that hunger. Like I had some really good friends sit there and say, "Dude, I watched you fight from when you were in a warehouse in Jersey to when you're fighting in front of Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Mandalay Bay, and that same fighter is not the same guy. Like you need to go back to that broke mindset, and it's hard, man. It's hard when
Yeah.
have nothing and then you get everything. It's tough. And if somebody doesn't say that, then they're full of it. They're lying to themselves. Some guys, they can have it all, lose it all, and fight back and get back to the top. And those are the guys that I pull for, root for, because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I got offered to do fights, and I'm just like, do I really want to train? Do I really want to diet for 6 weeks? Do I want to diet for 8 weeks? Do I want to miss kids' birthday parties? Do I want to miss the
Right.
holiday? Do I have to? I want to cut weight? Do I want to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, run 5 miles a day? Like, do I want to do those things when I can make a great living doing what I'm doing? You got to ask yourself that. And sometimes you got to be real with yourself and be honest with yourself and say, no, I really don't. And
Well,
it's nothing wrong
that's a
with
good
that.
point because a lot of these young athletes that are, 18, 19-year-old kids that go into the NFL or the NBA, you get all that money, thrown at you. And, I don't come from money, but I think I live a pretty good lifestyle. But I'm trying to put myself, if I'm 18, 19 years old and I get thrown millions of dollars, you wonder why these young kids make bad decisions. They've never had it. And like you said, you can go get cars and houses and the ladies and, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it's something that a lot of people can't experience.
Yeah, it is, man, and it's true, and it's like you're not able to be a kid. You're not able to be a kid. It's like it's wild. And listen, I'm the furthest thing from perfect, but what I learned is that you can't sit there and beat yourself up. We're all gonna make mistakes at some point. Some things that we're not proud of. Heck, we might get away with some things, but you can never. And Coach Foley, I would never forget this. Coach Foley, before I want to say the Lehigh game, but he had this man in the mirror
He's
poem.
at Baylor right now.
I know, dude. Coach Foles the man. I love that guy. He had this man in the mirror poem, and it was just spot on. Like you could trick, you could fool everybody. At the end of the day, you look at the man in the mirror, and that's the same thing. Like we're all gonna hit some rough times. I don't care who we are. At some
Yeah.
point, we're gonna hit rock bottom. It's gonna happen. It's just gonna be a different grade, a different level for everybody. It's not gonna be the same for everybody, but it's not what got you to that rock bottom spot is what you do after it. And you got to think of it in your mind, like, yo, when I hit rock bottom, that's where I build the foundation for the rest of my life. And if you could get that mindset, nothing can stop you.
Truck, who've been some people, I know you mentioned Chris Weidman, but who have been some people along the way that you've looked up to that have helped you out? Like you said, we all hit rock bottom at some point in time, but who've been some inspiration, motivational people for you?
Oh man, I'm a big believer in finding motivation people that are tangible, people that are in your life that you could touch, talk, and like interact with. But my mother, she's huge for me. Like I'm a mama's boy. When I've gotten to some of my darkest times, being depressed, going through divorce, all types of things, my mom always kept it 100 real with me, told me what I need to hear. I always looked up to my brother. My brother was a phenomenal athlete. Got into a lot of, a little bit of trouble in his life, making some wrong decisions. So he never really got to fulfill his athletic ability, but hands down, way better athlete than me. Probably one of the best football players I ever seen play. Probably one of the toughest kids I ever seen wrestle. Like he should be the fighter. He should be the professional athlete. But he went a different route in life, and now he's doing well for himself, which is great. And then when you talk about like outside the box, I'm a big believer in like personal development. The Les Browns of the world. I found his story one day just on YouTube, and Eric Thomas, like people like that. Athletes are awesome. Like I look up to certain athletes of how they battle, but I'm a big believer in people that are tangible that I can interact with and has a story. And it doesn't have to always be the story that you have in your mind. It could be a story of just overcoming.
Truck, how about for young athletes that might be struggling, in life right now? What's some words of wisdom, encouragements that you have for that kid that says, they want to either fight in the MMA someday or pro basketball, get into college? What's some words of wisdom you got?
Oh man, I think a big one for me that resonates, and I hope it resonates with any young kid trying to pursue a sports career is be consistent. Be consistent because if you truly want something, nobody should be getting in your way. So you're gonna have to make some tough decisions. Do you go to those parties? Or do you go to bed early? Do you do the little things that nobody wants to do to reach the goals that you want to have? A lot of time, especially now with social media, people talk the talk. They want this, they want that,
Mhm.
this, they that, but their actions are not in line with their wants and their beliefs. So as a young kid, if you really want to be a basketball player, You can get a basketball. You can go out there and take as many shots as you possibly can. If you want to be a fighter, you can sit there and run the miles. You could do every single thing. You can be coachable. You can listen to the people that been there. Listen to people that have experience. Because there's two ways to learn, right? You can learn from your own failures, or you can learn from other people. It's a lot less painful learning from others. So just be consistent as possible and set super high goals. Super high goals. Don't cut yourself short. Like that to me, I think is everything. I think sometimes we just cut ourselves short.
And Truck, you came back to the cage. I think it was what, 2016 you came back. Was it the Cage Fury fighting?
Yes,
Is
I
that what
came
you
back
came?
after that. I came back to CFFC. CFFC and I won versus a tough fighter, man, really tough dude, Chris Lozon. That
Yeah,
was
Lozano, right? Or
Yeah,
was that?
Lozano, and that was at the chop. That was at oh man, that was the Brigada. That was a good time, man. That was a great promotion, man. They're doing some really really good shows right now as well. That was that fight was huge for me because it was like, do I really want to do this again? Like that fight was like that was almost like me testing the water. And I didn't want to fight some no name guy. I want to fight, a guy that fought some of the toughest guys in the world. He fought in the UFC. He fought in Bellator. He fought in big shows. So I
Yeah,
wanted to challenge myself because after you come from the UFC, you're like, but I want to really like go back to the regional scene. Sometimes your ego gets in the way. Financially, like, you're going for fighting for a lot of money to like decent money. So it's like a lot of things were in play, but I loved it, man. It felt good.
Truck. If you had to go back in time and you look at your career now, would you made any changes? Would you have done anything any differently? Would you taken any different advice from people?
Um, I definitely would have done a lot of things different. I would have did a lot better with my diet. I used to balloon. I used to go up and down like a roller coaster because my biggest strength was also my biggest weakness. I was super mentally tough. I said I could get through anything. So I sacrificed my health, my body by losing crazy amounts of weight that was just unheard of the night before a fight just because I said I'll get through it. So that's one thing I would definitely fix. And if any young fighters are listening or any young athletes, take care of your body. You could go through 6 to 8 weeks of training and lose all of that work in one night, just doing a bad weight cut. And so that's one thing I definitely would have changed. And I'd have listened to my manager a little bit more. Now I took the biggest fight, the biggest money, the biggest everything, the toughest opponents. It didn't really care. I never really cared about a guy's record. I never cared about how tough the guy was. I was always in competition with myself. I was always like, I want the baddest fighters available now. Instead of,
Yep.
they offered me lesser fights, smaller names. And I was like, nope, I want the toughest guy. I want the toughest guy. And they were like, you can wait for the toughest guy to get some experience. But I didn't care. And I don't know if I regret that or I should just did it. Like that's a tough one. Like I think that's just the personality I have. I want to be the best. I don't want to be like some of these guys that pick and choose who they fight, turn down fights. Um, but financially, that would have probably been a better choice of picking and choosing who I fought. But I don't regret it. I would have probably did it a little different.
Truck, how about the longevity though of these MMA fighters now? And some of these fighters you see have been fighting for a long time. Do you think the longevity is going to get shorter by these fighters?
I think honestly, a lot of the longevity is because they're at the horizon. They're making more money now than they did in the beginning. So they're trying to stretch it out as long as possible. Because they're fighting for peanuts in the beginning, but now they're fighting for millions. So if you're an older fighter who is super good and now you have a name, you're gonna try to stretch it out as long as you can because you want a little piece of the pie. Fighting is weird. You see guys fighting at 40, guys fighting at 50 because it's different. Like it's wrestling, it's boxing. The mixed martial arts, the gloves are smaller, so you're not really punching that many times. So there's different arcs that you could take a fight to. You could wrestle a guy. So the longevity is there, especially if you're taking care of your body. With the sports science now, you can see longer careers. I just feel like it's going to be higher level athletes coming in and you're going to make a lot more money a lot faster. So why would you want to fight until you're 50? If you can make enough money to live your life comfortably by the time you're 31, 32, why would you want to put your body through that grind until you're 40, 45, 50? Because a lot of fans only see that 15 to 25 minutes of you fighting, but there's 6 to 8 weeks, 3 times a day training, dieting that goes into that 15, 25 minutes. So I don't see too many people that truly want to do that forever.
And Truck, you got a best-selling book, but talk to us a little bit about the book. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the life now. You've been busy. I know that.
Yeah, it's I've been super fortunate, man. I was able to win a New York Emmy on my journey to the UFC, and I was able to have some really good, solid sponsors that came in and helped me propel my career. And through going and talking to some of their businesses, everybody always asked me, they wanted something to take away from it. So I was like, you know what? I won a New York Emmy on my short life, like the short snapshot of my life. They missed a lot. So I said, if I could put this in the book, if I won an Emmy, I might be able to do something else, in the book world. And I was fortunate enough to become a bestseller, best-selling author, and that opened up some doors for me as far as speaking to kids, speaking to Fortune 500 companies, a couple different routes. So I'm working on the next project, in the talks right now with the publishing company, trying to finalize a deal, or just go independent again. I'm weighing those different options. I have the Eddie Truck Gordon Foundation, which is like my baby. I truly am passionate about that. My accountant's not happy because I fund the whole entire thing myself. I haven't had a fundraiser yet. But he says I'm gonna I'm gonna need a fundraiser for myself if I keep on doing this route. But I'm gonna start doing some fundraising. But it's about just helping underprivileged kids. Especially now with COVID and losing a lot of sports,
Yeah.
losing outlets for kids. Opening up the gym that I'm in now. I opened up another 3,000 square feet. So I want to get kids almost like a boys and girls club. I want to get funding for it to help kids, get an outlet, not just kids that have money who can afford private one-on-one sessions, but just open it up to kids that need it, kids that need guidance, kids that need to get off the streets and not have to charge them a penny, not have to charge them 1 cent to get mental, physical training and help them show them that if they want to be a fighter, if they want to be a bodybuilder, if they want to have any kind of physical career, and also get them the academics, have a tutor on staff, have people help them go through the whole process. Because a lot of kids don't know that you can't just be a great athlete. You have to hit the books and you have to hit them early. Most of them never heard of a clearinghouse. Most of
Yep.
them don't know until it's too late and they don't have people telling them. So I want to be a voice. They're gonna tend to listen to me a little bit more than their teacher because I did something that they want to do. And if I can do that, I feel like that's gonna be my legacy, man. That's gonna help me become a part of their story and ultimately live on forever.
Truck is like if somebody wanted a copy of the book or they wanted to a business wanted to book you for speaking and all that, is there a web page that people can go on and listen and look it up? I can post it for you, but is there one we can put on the site?
Yes, that would be awesome, man. They go right on to EddieTruckGordon.com. EddieTruckGordon.com. The right up the top button, there's a little link that brings you to my foundation page. Brings you can book me now. All it's available there. I'm like I'm very transparent. I'm very reachable, man. Anybody can reach me right on Instagram at Truck Gordon. It's the one that has the blue check mark that's verified, so you know it's me. There's a couple fake
Okay.
out there. I don't know who on the planet would want to be me. But you know, you could shoot me a message in my inbox. I reply to everybody. I don't have anybody managing my social media. Only my assistant's the only one that have access to my social media. So if I don't see something or email, she'll tell me go check it. But I read everything. I respond to everybody. I'm a big believer in only way for you to interact and know what's going on is by being as close to people that support you as possible. So I make sure that I reach out, and I truly, Rocky, I'm super humbled and grateful that you had me on the Rock Pile to to reach and share your platform with you means the world to me. To link up with another Fordham family member. So I am super grateful.
Well, I got one more question for you. I want to make sure I can get Dave on here. He's got another question for you. You mentioned your dislike of weight cutting. Do you think the same day weigh-ins would help reduce extreme weight cuts and keep fighters closer to their natural weight?
I think it would. I think it would. I think they're doing a good job now. They do almost like weight certification where you have to be like a certain amount of weight, a couple weeks out from the fight. So they're monitoring it more. Weight cutting makes no sense. When you really think about it, you have two guys that are cutting 20, 30, 40 pounds. After you step on the scale, those same two guys put on as much weight as possible and then end up being the same weight. So it's just crazy. But when you're an athlete, man, it's just we're just not normal. You go into a cage and you fight in a closed cage. You got to be have a couple screws loose in the first place. But you're just competitive, and it's like you almost feel that's a part of the sport. Being a wrestler, we cut weight in wrestling too from a young age.
Yeah.
Plastic bags and running around cutting weight, and it doesn't make sense. I'm happy that they're getting rid of a lot of that in high school sports because I think it's just super detrimental to the body. And I wish there was an answer, but it's been going on for years. Boxing's been cutting weight forever, so I don't really see it changing that much. When you're talking about millions of dollars and you talk about competition, guys are going to look for the biggest advantages possible, and whatever reason, bigger, faster, stronger is the route to usually go. And by cutting a lot of weight is how you become bigger, stronger, not always faster than your opponent.
So I got Paul Noecker says, God bless Eddie. Keep doing great things. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Paul. Much love.
What's up, Rock? Great show. Eddie's story is pretty epic. Yes, it is. Well, Eddie, listen, man, I'm out of time, but I got to say, it's awesome to catch up. I followed your whole entire career. And one thing I will honestly say, what's nice about it is you never forgot where you came from. You always treated me like gold. You were good to me through school, and I can't thank you enough. I love you, and keep doing great things, bro.
Rocky, you're the man, brother. You're the best, man. I appreciate you more than you ever know.
Keep doing good things. Keep in touch with me.
No, definitely, man. We're gonna link up, man. This ain't the first or last. When I put out the new book or have some new ventures, I'll be on here to tell you first.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Stay safe.
You too, brother. Have a good one.
All right, man. That was awesome. Eddie the Truck Gordon, former teammate of mine at Fordham University. Great career in the MMA, and his story was fantastic. I followed Eddie's career when he got out of Fordham, and I followed all his fights, and I didn't know some of the stories he told tonight, but this show, as I say every Wednesday night, I say this show is where dreams become reality. And Eddie talked about the ups and downs, the struggles. Eddie wanted the big fight. A lot of people would want the small fights. Eddie wanted the big fights, and it was all about family. And Eddie was a good kid in college, and he's doing fantastic. I'm so happy for him, and I can't thank him enough for coming on tonight with me. So proud of you, Eddie. Keep up the great work. So next week, I talked to another former teammate of mine, a Rome Free Academy teammate. Jim Catanzaro is going to join me next week on the show. Jim's the current head football coach at Lake Forest College down in Illinois, and he'll be set to join me. I can't wait to talk to him. And as I say on the show every Wednesday night, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow me across all social media outlets. Share the show. If you know anybody, a business owner, coach, or athlete, or anybody looking to come on the show, I'm booking into December right now. And I'm looking forward to going into the new year here with the Rock Pile. So enjoy the weekend, everybody. And remember, the Rock Pile is where dreams become reality, everybody. I'm out. Enjoy the night.